So how about the situation in Kharkiv Zoo?
As for Kharkiv Zoo, I would say that it's more or less okay. And here I will connect two stories of two places where I work. The fact is that the zoo is situated right next to the building of Kharkiv University, where I work. And this building is a very, very large building, especially for Kharkiv. And I would say that this building acted like a wall protecting the zoo, because both of them are situated at the very center of the city, and this center was attacked. Some administrative buildings of Kharkiv were ruined, and our university lost most of its windows. Like thousands of windows were broken like in one moment. But as for the zoo, since it is like behind that large building, it remained more or less intact. So all animals are safe there, at least now. And there are keepers living there now. In Kharkiv, which is in the combat zone now, well, there are no Russian troops in the city, but there are Russian troops around the city. And so it's still combat zone, and we are suffering from shellings on a regular basis. So public transport does not function in Kharkiv anymore. And Kharkiv is a big city, well, at least for Ukraine. Before the war, we had about 1.5 million people, and that's the second largest city in Ukraine after the capital city, after Kiev. So it's very hard to get to another district of the city without the public transport, of course. And also some of the workers of the zoo had to evacuate their families, so they left the city. And that is why not everybody is in the zoo, of course. But there are people who came to the zoo and who live there with their families, like constantly. So they left their apartments and just spent time in the zoo. When there is an air alert, they are hiding in the basements in the zoo. Yes, and the remaining time they look after animals. And well, given these circumstances, everything is like more or less okay. When it is war, and the first thing we think is lives of animals, lives of our keepers, is just to survive. Yeah, that's the main goal. However, behind that first goal, we shouldn't forget about the role zoos should play in the society. So, and there's a question about what are we actually saving? Because now when we talk about saving animals and stuff in Ukraine, some people tell us, well, it's a war, yeah, a lot of people are dying, so should we care like that much about saving like animals? Well, that's nice that we'll save them, but is that really that important? And I would say that like saving the zoo is not only saving the animals which are physically there now, and not only saving people caring for animals at the moment. It is about the structure which has some functions, yeah, and one of them, the main one, is the education. Of course, what we think now in Europe, and Kharkiv Zoo is trying to join EAZA, is that we have to educate people. We have to tell them how to live in balance with nature, because we have lots of problems with that. Well, and there is one more story connected to the Eco Park, by the way. Well, Eco Park is a private institution collecting a lot of animals and so on, but they have one project which was really great. That was the center of bat rehabilitation. So they collected bats which were injured or needed help for some other reason. And at the moment the war started, they had several thousands of bats there. Yeah. So they what do they do when it is cold in Ukraine? When it's like late autumn or winter or early spring, they collect bats who suffered from people. And then they feed them, they make them go to sleep, and then when it is warm, they release them. Yes, and it became a big tradition in Kharkiv. Like thousands of people have visited it, and it really changed the attitude of people towards bats, because like earlier most people thought about bats as something dangerous, disgusting, like, and when they saw a bat they would rather kill it rather than help. But when they saw them from a smaller distance, they saw how cute these animals are. In fact, they started helping, and so it really changed the attitude. And also like what we did in our educational department, we visited schools. Yeah, so now I know where almost each school is in the city, and unfortunately some of them are ruined now. So and we told about like problems of animals. Yeah, that you shouldn't take a turtle from the forest, that you shouldn't kill a snake the first moment you see it. Yeah, that well, you shouldn't leave like trash in the forest, like, and so on. Yeah, so that's education, and we always stress that the main reason why we keep animals in the zoo is to make this emotional connection between people and nature and change their behavior. So we are trying to save this as well, not just the animals themselves. So we try to save as many educational projects as possible. We do some of them online. For instance, I do my zoo school online. Some of the adolescents, some of the teenagers I teach just, and children I teach just gather online, and we discuss different issues. And we still hope that sooner or later we will come back to our zoo. Well, we have got help from the European Association of Zoos and Aquaria. Well, some time ago, I watched that wonderful interview you made with Maiwanwi Griffith from EAZA telling about that project. So that was rather helpful, yeah, because now we have problems with supplies. All the zoos have these problems because regardless of the direct military actions, the logistic chains were broken, and the zoos just got into the situation when they cannot quickly get certain products for animals. Yeah. And of course, if you don't have certain type of food for animals, that endangers certain species which should only eat that type of food, not something else. So that help from EAZA was really a great deal. But what's important is that well, this situation is going to last. Yeah, so at first, when this active stage of the war has started, we thought that, well, probably it's just a week or two for these military actions and then everything will be okay again. But now it's quite clear that this conflict may last for a long time, probably yes, months, or I'm afraid to pronounce years, but like that's also possible. And so we had to live in this new reality, and it's important for our partners to understand that we are still in the conflict, and we're still in the situation where a lot of people lost their jobs. So now they lost their income completely. We still suffer from shellings. And it's important to say that now in the 21st century, we understood how important the peace is, how abnormal the aggressive behavior of certain countries is. And today in Ukraine, when we have this conversation, we have a very sad anniversary. We have the anniversary of the explosion on the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, which happened in 1986. And it was always just, well, a sad anniversary from the past. But unfortunately, this year, we thought a lot about this tragedy again, because several of our nuclear objects were attacked during the war. Personally, I live in the city where there is a research nuclear reactor in one of the city districts. Well, it's not like as big as the one in the power plants, of course. It cannot be compared to Chernobyl, but still, that's a nuclear object. And it was shot several times. And of course, everybody was afraid that this catastrophe can be repeated. So that is the sad reality of Ukraine nowadays.
How about your daily life? You can get the food, or you can get the, like you have the electric right now and also have the internet connection. How about water or gas or heating system, or how about your daily life? Is it any difficult things available?
Well, it really depends on the place. If we talk about Kharkiv, it depends on the city district. There are city districts which are like more or less safe. It means that it's still dangerous to live there. There are shellings, there are casualties like every day. So we have shelling every single day. It's not like sometimes it's constant. But in those districts which are not heavily damaged, as for now, there are supermarkets, there are communications like heat, electricity, gas, and everything, and people may lead like more or less normal life, more or less, I would say. Well, I am in one of these districts now. However, there are city districts where the situation is far, far worse. For example, we have a district called Saltivka, and well, there's a sleeping quarters, just like houses, hospitals, and schools there, like almost nothing else. It was almost completely ruined. And there, most of the people who lived there had to evacuate. So like almost no one left there. Well, there are people still hiding in the basements there, but like not a lot. There are no shops there. There is no food supply, no water supply. It's just supply from volunteers who go there by their individual cars and distribute some food, water, and so on. So in some districts of the city, it's impossible to live now. And that is the situation of Kharkiv, a city which is very well protected. But the situation in the smaller towns in our region is much, much worse, because there is almost like nothing left there. Yes, so they were partially or completely ruined, or they were seized, and the conditions there are far, far worse than what I have, for instance.
Mm-hmm. I see. So, is there any message to Japanese people?
Yeah, so again then, I want to thank Japanese people for their support, because, well, I know that many of you care. Ukraine is so far from Japan. Yes, it's like literally the other side of the globe, and still I know that you care, and we appreciate that help very much. We hope that there would be always peace in Japan, and we hope for peace for Ukraine in future.
Thank you so much. So I hope that the Ukrainian zoos and aquariums can be the normal and welcome the customers around the world, and then we really hope the peace of the Ukraine.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you so much, Yevgen, to join us today. And then I hope that this video will be spread to the many Japanese people who watch it, and I hope that people will think about the Ukrainian zoos and aquariums. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.